So, Jared.
Yes, Will.
How did you get into V for Vendetta?
Oh, my God. Well, I was a very impressionable 15-year-old.
No way.
How did you tell? And so I was a huge Matrix fan from like 9, you know, because it came out like 98 or something.
Right.
And so I was like, you know, following the Wachowskis. I heard that they were writing the script for this new comic book based movie about like an anarchist. And I got crazy excited.
When I never even considered that. Like when you when you layer it like that, that does make sense. Like total sense.
Oh yeah, you see why like this movie was my personality for about a year or two.
Yeah.
So when it got announced, I think I managed to like drag my parents to a Barnes & Noble or Walden's Books or whatever, like the one at the local mall was, and I picked up like a copy of Alan Moore's V for Vendetta, and a thick comic book. Like that was really impressive at the time. I remember seeing it and being like, that's a huge comic, you know, this is awesome. I'm gonna be reading this thing forever.
Yeah.
And picked it up and read it, and probably thought I understood it a little bit, you know, but it's Alan Moore, so it's a little heady for a 15-year-old.
Right.
But I was like, okay, this is interesting, you know, but I'm curious to see what the Wachowskis are going to do with this, because it wasn't very action-oriented in the comic book. And then the movie came out, and I saw it in theaters and was like super hyped, had a good time. And then, you know, got the DVD, and it was like one of my few DVDs that I owned, but I watched it religiously, had a humongous poster on my wall, had a T-shirt from Hot Topic that I like begged and begged and begged for, you know.
Really?
And like wore it all the time.
Was it just the Guy Fawkes mask?
It was like an alternate movie poster where it's just like V doing like a pose kind of thing. I can't believe I probably have it like at my parents' house, like in a closet somewhere.
And if you subscribe to our Patreon, you too can be an owner of a piece of that shirt.
I'll cut it up and send it off to you. But yeah, this movie was like right up my alley. I was getting very politically aware. You know, in my teens, I was writing. I was like the editor of the school paper, and so I would alternate between like having a political column or having like a column that was like a deep dive into a specific interest, you know.
That's cool.
Like film and audio. But I was like hyper fuck George Bush kind of thing, you know?
Right.
And listened to like punk and metal and stuff, and was like, yeah, dude, like the government fucking sucks, bro. The government should be afraid of the people, not the other way around.
People shouldn't be afraid of the governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
It's a little cringy, but at the same time, I'm a little proud of this still.
Yeah.
But I loved the Boondocks, the cartoon by Aaron Magruder that got a TV show adaptation on Adult Swim.
Yes.
And I had a dog tag of Huey that I wore all the time because I loved him so much. Like I was like, that kid is me, man. And so like I wore that dog tag all the time. And yeah, that dog tag came from Hot Topic because that was my store, you know?
Right. It was mine too.
Yeah.
As much as my mom did not like it.
Oh yeah. Every time we'd go to the mall, I'd take my parents in there, and like, I think my mom thought it was kind of cool. Like, yeah, my son's like into weird stuff, and my dad's like rolling his eyes and like, I'm going to buy $70 pants for this stupid kid.
That was the opposite for me. My dad was like, man, this stuff is pretty crazy. And my mom was like, I don't want you wearing any of this stuff, and I'm going to throw it away whenever you're not, you know, in the house. That did happen.
Well, yeah, that was me, a cringy, you know, little impressionable teenager just being like, yeah, man, fuck the government.
Well, I'll say this, Jared. You do not kill the cringe. Kill the part of you that cringes.
You know what? You're right, man. You're right. And you know what? In revisiting this movie, you know what I found disappointing?
What's that?
That it didn't go hard enough.
Stay tuned.
From a vamping virtual voice, this vaccinated and vocal volunteer would value, dear visitor, your vindication by visualizing the varied art of film, while I validate my vanity for this verse on our program, Debaser, a film podcast. I'm Jared Rusk, and my venerable co-host is the ever-viable Will Taylor. On this show, of course, our vocation is to vivisect both vintage and vibrant movies as we vault into venting and vibing about them, all in an adventure to debase the films and ourselves. Today's episode, a dystopian film set in the near-future Britain that has sadly become quaint in its critiques of Bush-era policies. The movie, of course, is V for Vendetta. Stay tuned.
You gotta kick it off with a killer to grab attention. Then you gotta take it up a notch.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us.
Who are you?
I'm Shiva, the god of death.
Cells. Interlinked.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
God damn.
But yeah, like you were saying though, I embraced the cringe for that because I was like, you know what? Alliteration is fun.
Yeah.
And like it's referencing the like fucking just do it.
It's
man.
referencing one of the coolest not one of the coolest, but it was I remember the first time
It's verbatim in the comic. It's great.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, when
Cool.
he does all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, when I remember like on the rewatch today, I was like, oh yeah, I remember like thinking like there was definitely one dude in high school who memorized the whole fucking thing verbatim.
Yeah, you're looking at him, dude.
Oh no shit.
I owned a Guy Fawkes mask in high school. In fact, actually, it's in that room right now.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Nice. And you too, for $5 a month. Just kidding. But anyways, what I was thinking was like that is like I wonder how many takes there are of this of him having to say the whole thing.
Well, I will say he didn't do it live on set.
Of course not.
He re-recorded all of his lines.
Yeah,
after,
of course.
because they apparently tried doing it.
But it was like super muffled.
Yeah, they couldn't mic him up right,
Yeah.
so they just had him redo all of his lines like Bane. Yeah.
That was in the special features of the DVD, was it not?
That's probably where I picked it up.
Yeah, because I was going to say, once again, I remember like going through the special features of this one and hearing him talk with the mask on was like a no-go.
Yeah. They did like the Darth Vader thing where they like had him say everything on set, but then they later went back and ADR'd it. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, today's film is V for Vendetta. I think we gave away the goose on that one already.
If you didn't know before, you sure as fuck do now.
This film came out on March 17th, 2006. Wow.
Whew, what a time ago.
Long time ago. You can watch this film right now on Prime Video. It's also available on Blu-ray, DVD, on demand anywhere. The film stars Natalie Portman, Hugo Weaving, Stephen Rea, and John Hurt. And also Stephen Fry, but I didn't put him on there.
Which one was Stephen Fry?
Stephen Fry is the TV host that takes in Evie.
Dietrich.
Yeah. I know Stephen Fry from British television.
Right.
He is a like big personality.
Yeah.
He does a lot of voiceover stuff too.
Yeah. I knew the name and I've seen the guy's face before, but he used to host the show called QI, which was like a really fun like comedic quiz game show. Okay.
He does a lot of voiceover work. He did like the Little Big Planet narration. I think he did all the Harry Potter audiobooks.
Oh, no shit.
If anyone's ever listened to one of those, he did like very progressive British personality with an amazing voice. Great dude, very funny. So the premise of V for Vendetta is in a future British dystopian society, a shadowy freedom fighter known only by the alias of V plots to overthrow the tyrannical government with the help of a young woman.
Yeah, that's the summary.
Yep. V for Vendetta was written by the Wachowskis. And let me clarify something too for those not in the know.
Me specifically.
Oh, no, you know this, right?
What?
The Wachowskis are trans.
Oh, yeah. I know that.
I believe when they wrote this, they were not yet.
No, that I believe that you are correct on that one.
I don't want to dead name them, but they, when they did the Matrix films and stuff, they had not come out as trans yet either. They just didn't know yet or what have you.
Yeah.
But they have since come out as trans. They've actually been out for a while now I think about it.
Mm-hmm. Years, in fact.
So that's why sometimes if you're seeing like some outdated special features or like reading an older article from like 15 years ago, it's going to reference them differently. And that's why. Yeah. That came up a couple of times in my research.
I didn't realize they had written the movie. That was my thing.
You didn't know they were involved in this at all.
No, I completely.
Yeah, and I wish I caught you on air with that. I didn't know you didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're missing out on me going, oh, no shit. That's there's your reaction right there.
But the film was directed by James McTeague.
Okay.
And it's based on the comic book by Alan Moore and David Lloyd, although you won't see Alan Moore's name in the credits because he refused to be credited or have anything to do with it.
He did not like this adaptation, if I'm not mistaken.
It's that, and also he had such an issue with two other Hollywood adaptations of his works, From Hell and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
He did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
He wrote the comics.
I love
for both of those.
I love that movie.
And he was like, don't even put my name on this. But apparently he saw or read the script or saw an advanced screening or something, and I got a whole bit about it later.
Good.
But he just went on a big rant about how like it defamed his version of it. And I agree with him, actually.
Okay, cool, good. Because I never read it, so I want to pick your brain on the differences between the two.
I think it's a good read, but it does feel like a pretty different, it has a different message.
I got you.
You know what I mean? Yeah, we'll get to it.
Do you know if he didn't put his name in the credits for The Watchmen?
Oh, absolutely not. No, he wanted nothing to do with that one. I think that one he was even more abhorred by.
Oh, yeah. I'm assuming he just does not like Snyder.
No. Yeah. I think he very much disagrees. I think he's in line with the Wachowskis' politics, but he doesn't think they go far enough. Because like he said, they defamed his writing with this. Whereas when he probably saw Watchmen, he was like, fuck off. You know? He's a very angry man, though.
No,
He's
I've
very
heard.
ornery and stuff.
He's so famously angry that even The Simpsons reference it.
Oh, that's right. Well, and that they do Watchmen Babies. I remember in that Simpsons parody, and which is almost verbatim what they have done with Watchmen at this point now. Like DC has like run Watchmen to the ground.
Oh, really?
It is insane.
Oh, I had no idea.
This is not the place to get into that, but so this is the director, James McTeague. This is his directorial debut.
Oh.
He was the assistant director on many high-profile films before this, including Mighty Morphin Power Rangers from '95, the Matrix films, all three of them. That's how he kind of got set up with the Wachowskis.
Starting to make him a little bit more sense.
Yeah, because he's like professional buzz with the Wachowskis. He was also AD on Star Wars Episode 2, Attack the Clones.
Oh, no shit.
That's how he knew Natalie Portman.
That makes sense. Okay.
And Speed Racer, which is an incredible movie.
Speed Racer fucking rules.
That movie fucks so hard.
Yeah, it does.
He would go on to direct after V for Vendetta, Ninja Assassin.
One of my favorite films of all time.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I love that movie. You know what's crazy? I'm so sorry. I do not mean to go on a tangent.
No, I'm glad you have something to say about that movie because it's weird.
Yeah, I know it's weird. So I used the clip of, I believe his name is Rizzo.
Rain.
Rain. Yeah.
I know him as Rain, but
Rain,
maybe that's how you say it in Japan or something.
I think it doesn't matter. But Rain fighting against his rival in one of the final fight scenes where the dojo's on fire and he's like throwing that fucking chain dagger at him and whatnot. I used it in my final project for my humanities class on how ninjas helped secure Japanese the Japan's Renaissance, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get into it, but basically it centers around Hattori Hanzo. But I found an excuse to put a Ninja Assassin clip in our presentation, and I got a fucking A on that.
That's
shit.
Fun.
Yeah. Yes.
James McTeague. He did a Ninja Assassin, which you loved.
I do love. I do
The
love
Raven, which is that movie where John Cusack plays Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, he did that.
Yeah,
I saw that in theaters. It was okay.
Wow. Yeah, he's done a lot of okay movies after
well,
this.
hold on, Ninja Assassin fucking rules.
Well, and then a lot of okay movies, and then some okay TV shows, and then that's it.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Hey, at least I like his stuff.
Yeah. So this movie had a budget of $54 million, and it grossed. Do you have a guess?
So 54 mil.
Yeah.
This is 2006. So Iron Man has not come out yet, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Batman Begins has.
It cost 54
I
mil.
think.
Batman Begins has.
It was this year, I think, Batman Begins, or maybe the year before. Yeah.
I don't know how much Batman Begins made. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it made either 86 mil or 122 mil.
Ooh, you're really close on the second one. 137.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at this game.
Yeah, you're getting pretty good at this.
Yeah.
You used to have no barometer for
This is true, but that's because Marvel has ruined my life.
Well, yeah.
I have to go back.
There was an episode a while ago where you said a crazy number, and I was like, buddy, this is pre-MCU.
Oh, that was literally last episode.
Was it
Children of Men?
Oh,
you were
okay,
like, hey, Will, you got to calm down. It was 2007.
Yeah.
Go back.
That movie also bombed, though, unfortunately.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I know. It's a bummer. So V for Vendetta does have a 73% of Rotten Tomatoes, which is okay.
Yeah, I can understand where it would get that. Is that critics review?
That's the critics, yeah. And that's also it may have been higher at the time. I wonder if in reflection it was kind of lukewarm. I will say I don't do the audience scores anymore or whatever, or popcorn meter or whatever the fuck.
Right.
But it is significantly higher.
Well, of course, because it's almost
a cult movie at this point, yeah.
And I think what might have,
even though it was a success in its time,
given it a bad score would have been it's trying to tackle a serious topic, but it doesn't so in such a kind of almost a goofy way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of it has tonal whiplash.
Yeah,
and I am quoting you earlier off pod. I just want to give you credit.
Yeah,
but you're absolutely right about that. It has a little bit of a tonal whiplash sort of thing, and also it is, its protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for the most part, is a terrorist, in a in a truest sense of the word.
One man's revolutionary is another man's terrorist.
No, I know, but and I'll get into this later, but that is very much the point of the comic.
Yeah, he's a terrorist.
He's a full-blown terrorist anarchist.
Yeah.
And Alan Moore was kind of mad at it because they make him a little too nice guy.
Okay.
And he's like, no, he's supposed to be very I don't know if I do agree with this guy. He just has some good points, but he is also an extremist.
Sure.
Whereas in the movie, you're rooting for him the whole time. He just goes a little too far in a couple of places kind of thing. But that's also honestly a lot of the bad reviews I was flipping through were critics being like, I can't believe the movie wants you to root for this guy. And I'm like, buddy, read the comic.
Yeah, I know.
So Lou Limerick, that's definitely not his name. So so Lou Lumnick, film critic for the New York Post, gave the film a 3.5 out of 4 and wrote, just when we were ready to give up mainstream movies as brain dead, along comes this controversial and gleefully subversive V for Vendetta, a piece of corporate-sponsored art that will have audiences rooting for a bomb-throwing anarchist.
Yeah.
I pulled that quote because I really think it's apt. It's really good.
It is.
It's definitely why I glued into it, as a teenager too.
Ooh, I'm actually curious. What do you think about him using the term corporate? This is
it's a Warner Brothers movie. It's a big budget comic book superhero movie. Yeah.
Right. Do you think that he threw that in there to, much like your critique of the menu, he threw that in there to like, no, I'm serious. I'm serious. Yeah. Saying like, it's trying to tell you a message, but it's disingenuous in its message because it's got a big funder behind it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It also, to use Alan Moore's term here, it defangs it a little bit.
True.
And it also maybe explains why it
didn't go hard enough.
Doesn't have, as sharp as criticisms, as the comic. But also, when the Wachowskis wrote it, they felt they were both modernizing it and updating it, for American audiences.
Right, because there is a lot of reference or like, not reference,
it's straight up calling out the Bush administration in a sense. Whereas Alan Moore wrote it in response to Thatcherism at the time.
Gotcha. I was curious.
Margaret Thatcher being the prime minister in the 80s, who was like the Reagan of Britain, basically, and was doing some terrible stuff, across the pond. But yeah, it's like I love Rage Against the Machine.
Right.
They helped radicalize me as a kid. They made me learn and realize a lot of concepts and things that I wouldn't have otherwise. Like they introduced, the term Eurocentric to me. I had no idea what that meant, and nobody was going to tell me in my life. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so you just kind of get like it's both a little rebellious, but it also starts to teach you like, hey, here are like some actual like theorists and like revolutionaries that you should maybe look into if you want to learn more. It's kind of like baby's first,
right?
Rebellion kind of thing. And it's like, the music is like hard, but it's still like radio friendly kind of thing, even though their songs, they just straight up say like, the government killed, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and stuff and tried to blame it on Islam. But what I'm saying with that is Rage Against the Machine was on a major label. I think they were also on Warner Brothers, come to think of it. Yeah, I think they were. And a lot of people gave them a lot of shit for that, like,
right.
Hey,
like, how can you be anti-conformist when you are like,
and the straight up anti-capitalist, which they said they were, but like, you signed a major record deal with like a humongous company, and they're like, but like we get our message to the people in the end, don't we? You know what I mean? Like they don't tell us what we can and can't put on the record.
It's a difficult line to walk.
Yeah. And they're still like they had Michael Moore direct their videos. They got kicked off of Wall Street for shooting a video there without permission. Right. They got kicked off of SNL for hanging a flag upside down on their amplifier, like, so they only got to do one song.
Right.
And like how many bands have been kicked off of SNL, like there's like one famous punk band that, Jim Belushi invited on that got kicked off for swearing and shit.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, it's
difficult.
It's a delicate line to balance, but I don't always go in for that criticism. It's just something to acknowledge,
right?
You know what I mean?
I was just curious if you had put that in there as a way to make you think about it.
I didn't read his full review, and I'm curious, if he expanded on that more, because I'd be interested to see what he says about it. I just thought it was a really good snippy quip. No, we're not. But on that note, yes, I think it is interesting because obviously this movie spawned the anonymous
movement for 4chan,
right? And they adopted the Guy Fawkes mask from this movie. Every time you buy an official Guy Fawkes mask, a little bit of money goes to Warner Brothers because they copywrote it. Or no, is that copyright?
They own the rights
they own the rights to the Guy Fawkes mask,
movie merchandise, yes,
and it's now considered movie merchandise. Yeah. So unless you get like a homemade one or like something off of Etsy or whatever, you're giving money to a major corporation. And I remember there was a lot of hubbub made about that during Occupy Wall Street and the anonymous stuff. And it was just like, well, then obviously like we shouldn't be buying those masks, to like make your own thing or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things that like when people will be like, oh, well, millennials are so concerned about the environment, but they collect Funko Pops. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, some people do. And that fucking sucks. But like,
what can you do? Well,
yeah.
It's funny because I knew the anonymous movement in 4chan was eventually going to be brought up because like you
can't
talk about this movie without talking about them. And I'm sure this is not the place to put this.
Well, like if we ever do a Matrix episode, we have to talk about the red pill community, unfortunately.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But it's so funny.
Actually, now you think about it, the Wachowskis have spawned 2 insane movements.
Yeah.
Like obviously Anon is a little different than red pill. Like, because you can say Anon did some good things.
Well, that's what I was going to get at.
It's such a big group that like you can't really.
Crazy that this movie got a lot of internet dwellers politically active. For like kind of good reasons, like shining a spotlight on Scientology, Occupy Wall Street, things of that nature. And these are the same fuckers that now vote for and cheer on a fascist government.
No, I do think a lot of them, became Trump supporters.
It's fucking crazy.
Because there is a way. Because like what's crazy now is so much has changed. Where you watch a movie like this now, and you can interpret it as like people who now think COVID is a hoax or whatever, and like are voting for Trump to like get people like the deep state, quote unquote, like out of office kind of stuff,
right?
And they don't realize that like John Hurt is Trump in this movie, kind of thing. He's just rallying a completely different message. But while at the same time, like promoting, like preaching, I will keep you safe. While everything's, crazy out there kind of shit.
What was it like? Strength through unity through faith, like kind of thing. Like he literally hitting all of the like beat by beat shit that fascist politicians do now, you know?
No, that's why everyone's like, Trump is running the fascist playbook, and it's crazy how like no one's knowing it. But it's because we also don't teach people enough in school. Like, don't be played by this kind of thing.
That's crazy, dude. That's fucking crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tangent.
No, we have to speak on it. I mean, this is the film, and we're doing a dystopian series, so like it's going to come up, Oh, yeah. Okay, so critics.
Over on Letterboxd.
Zadie Smith, writing for the Daily Telegraph, wrote in her review of V for Vendetta, "In the face of this film, something adolescent in me surged to the surface, and I mean that as a great compliment. Adolescence is a state I hold in high regard. I pulled that because you even fucking said, kill the part of you that cringes.
Absolutely.
And she's kind of saying, embrace that part of you.
Yeah.
The adolescent me that was obsessed with this movie, that thought it was so cool, and I wanted to embody this movie where it's so flashy and stylized and like it's fucking saying something, man.
It speaks to that bright young ideologue that lived in all of us when we were in our teens,
1000%,
before it was fucking crushed by corporate wage
before it was
slavery.
drone striked by Rahm Emanuel and Obama. And over on Letterboxd, Ayo Debris gave the film 3 stars and wrote, "If you were on Tumblr in 2008 and reblogged a gif of Natalie Portman crying while her head got shaved, you're a leftist now."
She's right. I love her. She's great.
She's so good.
When I heard the name, I was like, oh, hell yeah, this is going to be a good one. I'm going to agree with this.
I love when I come across her reviews on Letterboxd. She's such a good, it's such a good account. I'd be devastated to learn it wasn't really her too.
Oh, dude, if it's not her, I'm going to be pretty upset. All right, so where do we even begin with this?
So I got a top level summary.
Yeah, let's hit the summary.
And we've hit some spoilers already, but it just be forewarned. So in the near future, England has survived a pandemic and is now an authoritarian fascist police state run by the tyrannical Norse Fire Party. Evie Hammond, a young woman played by Natalie Portman, is assaulted by several high-ranking police officers in an alleyway one night, just as a masked vigilante, played by Hugo Weaving, appears brandishing daggers and intervenes to save her. This mysterious and well-versed vigilante named V fashions himself after Guy Fawkes, a British folk hero of sorts that attempted to blow up Parliament and kill a swath of politicians over 400 years ago. And it's since become like a holiday that people celebrate and stuff, and they burn an effigy of him while launching fireworks in the air.
Guy Fawkes Day, November 5th.
Yeah, exactly. A big motif of the film. V, revealing himself to be a revolutionary terrorist, blows up a statue that same night and announces to the public via a pirate broadcast that in 1 year's time, at the next Guy Fawkes Day, the people should stand up to their government and he will assist by making good on Guy Fawkes' original plot to blow up Parliament. Incensed, government officials make it their number one priority to find and kill V. Evie is eventually captured for aiding V and is tortured to the point of despair, but refuses to give in and give up any information on V as she finds that she would rather die, like many before her, than to aid in the capture of the government's enemies. V then reveals that the torture was a test he administered, orchestrated to free her from her constraints, and lets her leave. Meanwhile, signs of civil unrest rise among the populace of England, and the detectives assigned to find V discover, via a link between his assassination victims, a high-level conspiracy behind the pandemic which led to the current government's appointees being swept into office and granting themselves absolute power. Ultimately, on the night before the next Guy Fawkes Day, V manages to kill the highest-ranking officials in the fascist party, but is left mortally wounded. V reaches Evie and explains that she is to make the decision to blow up Parliament. V has prepared a long-forgotten subway train packed with enough explosives, and Evie only needs to pull the lever. After V dies in her arms, Evie ceremoniously places V in rest on the train and begins to pull the lever just as the lead detective hunting V stumbles upon her. He reluctantly lowers his weapon and allows Evie to send the explosives as she explains that the people need hope. Meanwhile, thousands of British citizens have donned cloaks and Guy Fawkes masks and are marching on Parliament in silent yet peaceful protest and witness it explode into fireworks. Credits. And somehow Will missed written by the Wachowskis.
I think I had either my son had just woken up, so I looked away.
Oh yeah.
And then I looked back. I was like, "Oh fuck! Who directed this? Who wrote it?" And I completely missed it.
Hey, how quaint was it when you see the detective is doing research on the pandemic that happened years ago and how it killed a terrifying 100,000 people?
Yeah,
people have died from COVID.
7 mil.
Exactly, like 7 mil and counting. Yeah,
it's fucking crazy.
Wow. Pretty crazy when the bleak future, proposed in a movie from 15 years ago is actually a lot more quaint.
art imitates life. Sometimes predicts it, but not in the crazy ways that it can actually be. What an
Alan Moore was right though. They defanged it. 100,000 people. No one would give a shit about that.
They should have hit 7 mil easy.
Yeah,
fucking silly. That's crazy.
We probably hit 100,000 deaths in month 2 or 3.
Well, so what's funny? Because the virus in this movie is manufactured by the state as like a false flag sort of thing.
They're trying to. I think now the virus is a creation of the screenplay. It's not in the comic. But I think they were trying to do it to just kill off the poor because they could sell the vaccine to the rich people. And so that way they're like, oh, we can kill off wards of the state and not have to worry about killing the middle class and stuff.
It was multifold in that. So yes, it hit the poor, it hit the vulnerable.
Right.
It created
and
panic.
Undesirable too,
exactly.
I guess,
it created panic as a means to make Britain become insular.
Right.
And the way that they tested it was by picking up undesirables, the degenerates, the gays, the minorities, all that sort of stuff to test it on them. So it did triple duty for Sattler, who is the chancellor, counselor, whatever.
Who goes on to become the tyrannical authoritarian leader
of the whatchamacallit. They also talked about how in America, the main mouthpiece, the Tucker Carlson of this movie, if you will, was saying that America had become a country of lepers. So there's some sort of disease over there that's not even the same as what we've got going on in Britain, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And then there's civil war and they're fighting in the Midwest. Cool.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Let's go to the beginning.
Let's go to the beginning. Let's do that.
So we see V getting ready and Evie getting ready for two completely different things.
Right.
And then Evie is immediately accosted in an alleyway by some police officers who are getting ready to rape her, and there's a lot of double entendres.
They're the fingermen
that you wouldn't get if you don't already know some of the proper nouns in this story.
Yeah.
So because in the comic they're called the fingermen because they work for the hand, which is part of the arm. Because all the different government bodies have literal body parts.
I gotcha.
Because British love to call things ministries and hands and things like that and stuff. Yeah. But he makes a fingering joke immediately.
She says, he's like, well, we're...
are you here to finger me?
Well, he showed her the badge and she goes, oh, I didn't realize you were fingerman. And he's like, that's the point or something like that.
It's just loaded with double entendres and heavily implied that they're about to rape her. It is...
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Very weird. Yeah. But then V interrupts them coincidentally because he's there to...
Doesn't
to blow
some
shit up.
Doesn't kill any of them.
Yeah, I guess he's a non-lethal.
In that instance, he says. He
is later, of course.
Yeah, he says in the film when he talks about defending her, he's like, I don't have a problem with them in particular because they are common folk. I have problems with the people who are pulling the strings. Like, he doesn't, I guess the way that he looks at them is the same way that we should look at the people who may or may not have voted for a fascist government that is coming into play now, for they not know what they do. They only see the benefits, quote unquote, of what they're going to get.
See, I take issue with that.
Okay.
Both because the film contradicts itself and also because...
I mean, they're cops.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're instruments of the state.
Yep.
So at this point, like agents in the Matrix, they are going to be used against you. So they are collateral at this point. You know what I mean? But also, like, he goes on to defy that in the movie itself. He kills a lot of cops and like lower people when needed anyway. You know what I mean? A lot of later scenes.
Sure, yeah.
And in the comic book, he never cares. Like, he gets innocent. He gets innocent people killed sometimes, and he's just like, they were in the way. It happens. You know, kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, because he is a somewhat ruthless, you know, like revolutionary.
I got you.
You know, and then like an anarchist in pure terms. You know, whereas they're trying to like glamorize him up a little bit in this one.
Sure.
Make him more of a hero.
Gotcha.
Whereas Alan Moore isn't afraid to like let you see someone and have like conflicted feelings about them, kind of thing,
Right,
you know?
right.
And I think they, you know, for a major motion picture, a corporate sponsored piece of art, you know, they got to clean it up a little bit, you know?
I gotcha.
But also like they're arms of the state, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that is the whole thing about like cops is like, you can't trust them.
I guess
like the state wants you to think that you can trust cops, and
Right.
you can't. That's the thing.
Sure. I guess where I'm getting at is like I'm trying to rationalize his reasoning in the film.
Yeah.
I don't have the context of the comic book, I guess is what I'm getting at.
To me, I think that's just too sanitized, though.
Sure.
Is the
No, I
thing.
understand.
Yeah. And he goes on to kill a lot of other people that you could say, well, he could have just incapacitated them. And, you know, they didn't deserve that kind of thing.
You're telling me that his favorite restaurant is Outback Steakhouse because there's no rules and that's just right.
I didn't know where you were going with that.
Bazinga. Anyways.
But it reminded me the other day.
Whoops.
I was driving past Twin Peaks, you know, the new restaurant in town.
Oh, it's in town? There's one in town?
Yeah, it's in Lakeland. It replaced the Bonefish Grill, I think.
You're kidding me.
That's out in front of Target. And there was a humongous Jeep in the parking lot, just kitted out with like a full body wrap of Deadpool.
Oh, cool.
And covered in like red LEDs. And
Yeah.
I was like, you know, that's exactly the kind of guy you're going to find
100%.
parked at a restaurant at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night.
Some fucking boobies.
He's got nobody at home. Yeah, he needs to see attractive woman that he's paying, you know.
he gets to harass somebody
Exactly.
you know, for 45 minutes.
God.
That's cool, man.
I digress.
That has nothing to do with Outback Steakhouse.
No, but I just like thought you were going to go somewhere. And I just wanted to tell you that.
I love it.
V attacks these cops and saves Evie, and then lets her watch him blow up this statue. And then he's like, well, you got to come with me now because they're going to think you're a cop. Oh, no, wait. He lets her go home. But she happens to work at the television station that he's attacking the next day. He does his whole introduction to her where he uses
all
like
the V's,
255 V words, and that's what I was referencing in my intro.
Yeah. And as a 16-year-old, that's very cool.
Oh, it's still cool. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's still cool. Like, it's great prose, really.
Right.
And it's like one of the things completely lifted from the comic, like verbatim. But the next day he like attacks this TV station so that he can broadcast his statement.
Real quick, I just want to put a pin in it. The thing that he blows up is the Old Bailey, and on top of the Old Bailey is a hold on.
Means nothing to me though. I don't know what that is.
It means, no. I understand it doesn't mean anything to you, but it's a symbol.
It is, and it's a real statue apparently.
And he's real big on symbology, which is
symbolism.
There we go, symbolism. He's big on that. He talks about how he's liberating Lady Justice because she's become blind to what's been going on in the state, and so that's why he's blowing it up and stuff. But he's the character early on is very big into ideas, icons, and things of that nature. He spends a lot of time talking about ideas and shit.
Yeah, because men can be killed, but ideas cannot.
Ideas are bulletproof.
You know, I quoted that shit a lot as a teenager.
I bet you fucking did. Even to this day, I quote it sometimes.
But yeah, he breaks into the TV station, has a really cool scene where he has like these like cement guns that he like pumps into the elevators so that he can keep everybody out. Does the great thing where he dresses up everybody in the room like him so that when the cops come busting in, they can't figure out which one's him. Mm-hmm. Later to be done, by the way, in a great movie we're going to watch eventually for this podcast, Inside Man.
Inside Man fucking rules.
Oh, you have seen that?
Yeah, that's the one where he
Clive Owen.
Clive Owen fucking
I didn't know
rules.
you'd seen that.
I not only have I seen it, but I recently rewatched it on one of my trips.
Wait, I think I told you to watch it and you watched it on the plane.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this before, like bits and pieces. It's fantastic.
So good,
yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
so good. Dude.
I love how in the beginning of that movie, it does that kind of trick where he tells you exactly
what he's gonna do.
He's gonna do. Yeah. And he's like telling you, like, I'm telling you, listen closely, I'm telling you. And like that's how if you can put it together, he's literally telling you what you're gonna see at the end of the movie.
We're gonna cover that?
We have to.
Oh hell yeah. Dude.
I love that movie. Like,
and it has Clive Owen in it.
Well, and I want to do more Spike Lee movies, like any Spike Lee movies for this podcast, but like I think that's one of his like top 3.
It's
easily.
Good.
Like,
it's got Denzel in it.
Yeah, we have to do Inside Man, Do the Right Thing, and
I haven't seen that one.
Maybe The Monuments Men. You would like Do the Right Thing a lot.
I haven't seen those two, but I have seen Inside Man.
I think you wouldn't. I think you would like both of those.
Okay.
He has a lot of movies though.
I like Spike Lee.
But yeah, just God, Inside Man is so fucking good.
It's great.
That's why we do the podcast, baby. So yeah, V takes over this TV station, airs this message that like Anonymous would go on to mimic for years, where he just speaks directly to the people and says like, "Hey, the government sucks. I need you guys to wake up. I know why you voted for this. You were scared. You know, you wanted somebody to protect you, but like it's gone too far. Now we got to make the government afraid again. So if you agree with me, show up on next Guy Fawkes Day and help me overthrow the government," kind of thing.
Right. And he also does this as the propaganda arm of the government is trying to be like, oh, we plan to destroy the Bailey.
Yeah, that's right. They're literally doing a news briefing saying like, oh, it was just a planned demolition that went off too early and we just happened to the guy in charge of it just happened to want to play music at the same time and stuff. It was just a coincidence. Yeah. And we learned that the broadcaster blinks a lot when she knows she's lying because Natalie Portman tells us this.
The reason why I bring that up is because one of the fun things that this movie does is makes fun of fascists. And that is like the easiest way to A, get under their skin, and B, make them not look as competent as they like to think that they are. Yeah. You know, and that's something that we should continue doing. Go back to calling them weird.
I know.
Idiots.
Why? Was it all of the like the centrist like corporate it was Democrats in the party?
It was Biden's election team because Harrison have one.
Okay, so he airs the TV thing, takes Evie down to his like underground lair, which is full of like art that's been deemed inappropriate and has been confiscated by the government. Right. So it's like a lot of paintings and movies, and there's like a jukebox and stuff. What's happening down there? It's like a cool lair.
One thing I thought was interesting in contrast to the other dystopian film that takes place in Britain that we literally just covered, that also has a pandemic and all that other stuff, is in Children of Men, only the wealthy have art. Yeah. And in this film, all art and expression has been banned or deemed degenerate. Yeah. And so it is now hidden. And I always find that in this instance, this is the one that gets portrayed more often. Like in Equilibrium, do you remember Equilibrium?
Yes, I do.
They have a similar thing going on.
I know.
Do you not like Equilibrium?
I don't.
I was actually going to suggest we cover it because Gunkata is the coolest fucking fighting style I've ever seen in my entire life.
I'm just going to tell you. Mm-hmm. I know I was saying how I was very impressionable, you know, in my adolescence, and I loved this movie. But when I saw Equilibrium, but I remember just being like, this is a little on the nose, even for me.
Okay. It out-edged.
Like, because I had already read 1984 and Brave New World, and I was like, okay, somebody just wanted to do this with kung fu, you know, like, and guns.
Yeah, but Gunkata is so cool. Anyways, continue. I love Gunkata.
I'm still laughing about Gunkata.
Gunkata's the shit, dude. It's my favorite thing. There's a character in League of Legends that does it. So cool.
Oh my god. You're not playing League, are you?
Oh, no. I've left that part of me in the past.
Thank God. Whew, we're about to have an intervention
No,
here.
absolutely not. What happens after the TV thing is the one of the detective guy starts like really investigating and trying to figure out what all Evie's about.
We've got these two detectives that are assigned to the case, and I mean, and they realistically, there would be like entire armies of men searching for him. You'd think, but
yeah, and this guy directly reports to.
To their chancellor. Yeah. There's like a little round table of like the main characters that we follow that are like,
and then that one guy
hunting V. Yeah. And then, and when they talk to John Hurt, who is the star of, so the guy who plays like the evil chancellor, John Hurt, he's the main character in 1984, and they do like the government talks to you on like a big video screen. That. So that's like a 1984 movie reference.
Gotcha.
It's not in the comic. It's weird. Also, that detective, a little bit of a bigger character in the comic.
Is he?
And at one point, he's like tripping on LSD while he's walking through like the remnants of like the camp where V got experimented on.
Yeah.
And that's like he references it in the movie and he says like I can see the past and the future. It's because he's fucking tripping balls.
Oh, okay.
Because Alan Moore is like, I love to like have a character do a lot of introspective like learning while tripping.
I think it was like Lark Hill is
I think that's the name of it.
Yeah, when he was like I felt like he could see the future and it was like either this is like a drug trip or this is divine intervention from the writer themselves, like giving you visions of the future.
In the comic, he's like in too deep and is so conflicted about what he's learned about how the government is like actually has been perpetrating all of this evil stuff and why V's doing what he does. And he's like, I don't know if I want to catch him anymore. And I don't remember if he gets spiked or if he intentionally takes, the drugs, but he's just going on this huge trip and like, that's how he is able to rationalize not killing V and Evie at the end there.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Because he's just come to a lot of, self-understanding and stuff. Anyway, we see a lot of him like learning, going through the case and working it. And he's being diligent because he's like, why is V trying to kill all these like random people?
Exactly. And what is his connection to Evie? Like,
right.
Let's start with her and work our way up.
And so he finds out that like this like priest, this like pedophilic priest that V wants to kill. Dude, when they dress up Natalie Portman as like gussy her up like a little girl, and then he starts being
disgusting,
so rapey. It's so weird. Yeah. And like, you want him to die, but it's like, Jesus Christ. And I felt like they were channeling the Leon the Professional thing a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
I know about that.
I know it's a good movie, but like, that's the worst part of it is like how she's like a Lolita character and you're like, oh no, this is weird. And there's like a deleted scene that I read about and I was like, no, this taints the movie for me kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway. But you find out that like all these people were connected to a experimental lab.
The next person who dies is the Tucker Carlson character who originally was
like in charge of that camp.
Yeah, but before that he has overseen like combat in the Middle East. Like there's a lot of Middle East combat stuff that
invented for the film, but
was that invented for the film? That wasn't
to be criticism of
the Bush era,
all kinds of stuff. Yeah, there's tons and tons of references to like, this is set in Britain, but really it's about George Bush.
But like, so he oversaw like the punishment and the guards of the facility. And
I think he was just in charge of the whole camp.
Oh, that's okay.
And the priest guy was a priest or clergyman at the camp also, but he was being paid to like
crazy, to
cover stuff up, kind of thing.
And then they had a doctor. And that was like the three next victims. But there's I guess the day after the V thing, the Tucker Carlson character, whose name I cannot fucking remember because I don't matter. Who cares? He sucks. Is like talking very tough on the TV.
You want to know what I think? Oh, you're watching my show, so I think you do want to know.
Exactly. If it was just me and him in there, I would have put him on his ass. Some shit.
You know what? I don't think Tucker.
Sorry, he's Pierce Morgan. Excuse me.
No, he's Bill Riley. I think is who this was at the time.
Shit, yeah. You know, I think you're right because
or even Bill Riley was on TV, but like Rush Limbaugh on the radio.
Yeah, would also talk like that.
I think Glenn Beck around this time was starting to become a household guy.
Yeah,
he definitely is what made my dad, conservative at that time. Unfortunately,
But yeah, he advocates all of our wonderful hosts of many right wing programs that are poisoning our loved ones' brains.
Yeah, he's an op-ed columnist that is fed propaganda by the state and is told to like toe this kind of line, and so he does it with like an edgy kind of attitude, but for boomers, too, right?
But yeah, he's watching his own big screen. He's taking a nice shower and whatnot, and then when he turns off the TV, V's there, and he's scared shitless and made fun of. And he dies, and now the propaganda wing of the government has to spin that shit too. Like, how do we say that he dies? Oh,
peacefully at home or something.
Exactly. You know.
Does he kill? I think he kills the doctor next. And
no, the next person is the priest.
Oh, the priest is after that. Okay,
yes.
And that's when Evie runs away because she doesn't want to go through with it.
Yeah.
She realizes that V is assassinating people and is like
a bit of a nutter,
too uneasy about it.
Mm-hmm.
So she runs away and goes to her boss's house, who he hosts like a TV show.
Yeah, it's like a TV like late night talk show kind of thing.
Right. And it's kind of tongue in cheek and a little subversive, but not enough to get in trouble with the government. It's Stephen Fry is her boss.
It's the treat. It's the little treat that you get so that you stay complacent.
Yeah. But she goes to his house and says like, I'm sorry, I don't know where else to go. And she's like a wanted criminal at this point. Now her face is all over the TV, and he goes, "Oh my God, Evie!" And he's like, "Come in." So she like stays the night there and tells him like everything that happened. And when she wakes up the next morning,
he's playing the same song.
Yeah, he's playing a similar song. Yeah, he's making the same breakfast.
Yeah.
Like he's mimicking so many things that V did, and she's like, "This is so weird. This is just like how the first day when I met V." And he's like, "Oh, because I have something to tell you.
He is I, and I am him."
Yeah. He's very
charismatic in this, but you're glossing over one bit that he shows her all of this illegal.
She asks, "Why were you willing to take me in?"
But that was at night, not in the morning. If I'm not mistaken.
Was it that night? Okay.
Yes, I believe it is.
Yeah, but she asks him like, "Why were you so willing to take me in?" Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Well, we all have things to hide. You know, if they were to find you at my house, you wouldn't even be the biggest thing I'd be afraid of them finding." And he takes her into like his basement, and he's got like a bunch of art.
Yeah.
That's been banned. He has a Quran on display, which has been, it's like illegal to own one now at this point, which is speaking on, the anti-Muslim sentiment at the time.
Yeah.
And then she notices they kind of like, the camera just kind of glosses over it.
No, it's homoerotic.
But yeah, they don't really like zoom in and like give you a good, it's a PG-13 movie. So I wonder if they were worried about censors or something too.
But there's definitely a dude with his face in another dude's ass. Like that's one of the pictures.
I don't remember it being that explicit.
You can freeze frame it.
But sure. But anyway, it is like, implied to be some like gay art on the wall, like photographs though, not drawings or anything.
Right.
And she goes, "Oh," and he's like, "Yeah, if they found out about me, I've been hiding my whole life, if they come in here, they'd find out, and I'm not even allowed to be that person, And he's like, "That's why I wanted you to come over that night, because the night she got assaulted, she was supposed to come over for a date with him."
Right.
And he's like, "We weren't going to do anything. I just have to put on appearances so that people think I'm sleeping with like my coworkers and all this, like young impressionable women in the office kind of thing." And he's like, "But we wouldn't have done anything. Don't worry. I don't even, you would have found out eventually, but like that's not me." And so she feels,
safer.
He's been vulnerable with, with her, and
right.
So she feels safe there. But he feels emboldened, and unfortunately,
for him,
decides to go on TV and make an episode where they make fun of the Chancellor and like makes V like a character on the show, and they do like a Benny Hill thing where they like chase him around, and he's like a Looney Tunes character. He literally like has like dynamite in his mouth, and he goes, or not a sucker, kind of thing. Basically. Or a stinker.
Yeah, that whole skit ends with the Chancellor, getting executed,
blowing himself up or something. Or he gets shot. Yeah. And Evie watches it, and he's like, "They're gonna kill you." And he's like, "What are you talking about? They're gonna yell at me and make me apologize tomorrow night, and it'll be all over." Well, no, the government is so upset, about the V thing already that they storm his house with like SWAT guards that night.
Once again, the easiest way to make a fascist government look weak is to do shit
or to piss them off.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And
to become in their crosshairs.
Exactly. They become retaliatory because that's the only way that they can continue to feign strength and whatnot, and not incompetency. It's just call them weird.
Yeah. That's why it disgusts me that Saturday Night Live like had him on.
Oh yeah.
Like I never can look at that show the same way again.
Didn't not Jimmy Kimmel, Fallon like tousled his hair.
Yeah,
and shit.
He like made him look human. Yeah. I know so many like mainstream media characters have treated him with kid gloves and not as the monster he is. And I'm like, this is the problem. You know what I mean? Like confront him, have him on under the pretense, but then like confront him directly. Like you can't fucking like they're all complicit.
Yeah.
All of these people are complicit with this bullshit.
It's true.
It's so fucked up, man. Anyways. Sorry. You sent me off there.
Whoops.
Fuck Jimmy Fallon. Fuck SNL, dude. Institutions that like aren't prepared for fascism. And like, maybe they shouldn't be, but then they shouldn't be interfering with this in the first place either. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucked up, man. Anyway.
So he gets black bagged.
Yeah. And presumably dies.
No, he is executed.
Do we see him die?
No, but when the whole facade, V lets down the facade and Evie asks him, like, what about Dietrich? And he's like, well, unfortunately, you know, they had him in prison, but when they found the 14th century Quran,
they had him executed. That's right. He does say that. Yeah. Well, yeah. So Evie tries to get away, but gets captured.
Right.
And is being tortured for a long time in like a jail cell and stuff. And they're like, tell us, you know, where V is, who he is, like what you know. And she's like, I don't know anything. And they're like, well, tell us anything. And she never gives up anything. While this is happening, she finds like a little scroll of toilet paper hidden in her cell behind like some cinder block. And on it is a woman's memoir. About her life. And she's like, I don't know who you are, but you're probably just like me. You're stuck in a cell and they're trying to kill you, kind of thing. But I want to tell somebody about my life. And she's like, I, you know, from a young age, I realized I was into girls, and like, you know, my first girlfriend grew out of it, but I didn't, kind of thing. And it's a really lovely story about like a coming of age, like, you know, a lesbian, and how she gets into film. She becomes an actress and meets the love of her life. But then this government comes into power and they have to hide who they are. But like one day her girlfriend gets picked up by the government and she's like, I just gave up on life. And you just see her like sitting there on her couch,
dejected,
like,
ready for
completely ready. And when the government storms in to like pick her up, she just doesn't care.
It's a cool shot.
Yeah, it's great. Honestly, yeah, it's you know, and this is like speaking to Natalie, you know, being like she is someone who was never politically activated.
Right.
And I think she says as much to V beforehand, because she's like, yeah, my parents were activists, but like, to me, it was just a way to get yourself in the crosshairs. Like, I didn't understand why they would draw attention to themselves, kind of thing. And she's like, I wish I felt like I could do that, but I don't, like, I can't let go enough, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And of course we find out that's why she's being tortured. So when she finishes this lady's memoir, and it moves her so much, and, you know, it ends with her basically, it's very touching. Like, I'm just paraphrasing it here poorly. So like, if you haven't watched the film, like, I recommend you check it out, or even like pick up the comic. The comic is a really good read, and it's a very thick book. So like, it's one of the graphic novels where like, it's like $20, but you're going to get like,
you're going to get your money's worth.
It's going to take several nights of reading, because you know, it's not quick, and it's Alan Moore. It's verbose.
Right.
But it's very touching.
This is one of the best parts of the film.
Oh, absolutely.
In my opinion.
I bet it is what sold Natalie Portman on it.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Because like, she doesn't get to shine anywhere else as much as this scene, you know, where she's reading this and just being
brought to tears.
Completely moved to tears. Yeah. For it. But
the whole message is like, there's a part of you that no one and nothing can take away. It's like, it's not your integrity, right?
It's your humanity.
It's the part of you, the last part of you that exists. And how does she go on to say it? Like, no one can take that away from you, even at the end of the barrel of a gun.
Yeah, where they have completely dehumanized you.
Yeah, so much.
You know, and what it's doing is it's like helping her empathize with people who have been tortured for being othered, you know, sort of thing. And so even though Natalie, her only crime was like slightly aiding and abetting, you know, a terrorist.
Yeah.
She doesn't exactly have too much more in common with the kind of people that the government is against. But now she's like, no, I do actually, you know what I mean? Like, I might as well, I need to stand up for them, kind of thing. And this is all implied.
Right. Right.
But yeah, and after finishing it, guards are telling her like, you're going to be executed tomorrow if you don't tell us anything. And when the next day comes, they come and tell her like, you know, listen, like, if you just say anything, like, they won't kill you. You know what I mean? Like, just tell them what the brick looked like, you know, at V's place. And she's like, no, I won't do it. And he goes, well, you're completely free. And he means it metaphorically and literally, because he stands back and lets her walk out. And she realizes it was V testing her. And she, you know, breaks down a little bit, obviously.
She's a bit big mad.
As she should. Yeah, as she should. Yeah. But V is like, don't you see? Like, this hurt me, but like, I was trying to free you, and now you're free of this. And she's pretty upset about it.
You realize your life is not your own. You are part of something bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are unafraid of death. And because of that, you can, how you say, give everything to your morality or this concept of what is good and what is right.
Yeah. And he's not doing it so that she joins him. He's just doing it to like spiritually free her, I guess, too.
Yeah.
But he lets her go, and she, when she's leaving the next day, she's like, it's crazy to think that like that was all, created by you. And he's like, oh no, that story that you read about the actress, like she's real. And he takes her over to like a memorial that he made for her. Cause he's like, I found that same note. Like I brought that from my jail cell.
Yeah.
Like that's what inspired me. Yeah. He's like, that's what got me, through it. And he has like, he found like, posters and portraits of her, and he like made a tribute to her in his house.
He grows roses.
That's right. Is that what the roses are? Yeah,
roses are extinct or very rare to find nowadays, and the reason why he grows them is because that's what her wife would bring to her.
Oh,
she always,
right.
for 3 years, she was always able to smell roses.
Yeah.
And so that's why.
And she references, I could smell the roses all the time.
Yeah. And that's why he has it in his room. That's why he leaves it on all of his victims. It's like a, not just a final revenge for him, but for her and for everybody else that went through the exact same experience, being turned into test subjects and dehumanized.
Yeah.
And left for dead, all to help a terrible person get into power.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah. But then at this point in the movie, Evie just kind of fucks off.
Oh yeah, she's gone. She's like, we're done.
Yeah, and she just shows up later to pull a lever.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, wheels are turning. In Britain, there are people that are getting more
radicalized,
politically activated kind of thing. Like you see a little girl spray painting over a government propaganda poster. And like, they do like a Trayvon Martin kind of thing where like a cop shoots a girl that's dressed as Guy Fawkes.
It's the same girl.
It's the same
girl,
like nerdy girl with the big like Coke bottle glasses that we keep seeing throughout the movie.
And it's like during a voiceover of the either V or the detective talking about like political unrest is going to get worse
because this is all going according to his plan.
Exactly. And like
V is like knocking over dominoes in a giant V shape during this monologue.
He's like, someone is going to do something very fucking stupid, and that's going to be the powder keg that blows off and gets everybody activated. And shooting a little girl is definitely like an activator.
I mean, you could argue it was George Floyd and Trayvon Martin. I was going to
make the exact same.
I knew we were going to be able to bring this into BLM. So like, man, so much has gotten fucking worse since that too. God damn it. Mm-hmm. We fucking marched in the streets. We got some concessions from people in power, right? Like companies like agreed to like embrace like DEI policies and stuff. The government said that they were going to crack down on like people being racially profiling and shit.
Yeah, and defund the police.
And look what fucking happened, man.
Yeah, we got a fascist.
We literally, companies every day are like firing their DEI departments and stuff because like enough racist people like spoke out about it and said, we're not going to shop here anymore kind of shit. Trump got reelected. Like,
well, that's because of weak liberal policy.
I agree.
Weak liberal leaders.
But it is like the closest analog, I think, in modern times to like what V is trying to do in this is the BLM movement. I feel like all the progress we made just got lost. You know what I mean? Like so much was made about like how annoying the protests were that like the whole message got completely drowned out and lost. And it was like, what the fuck did we even do that shit for?
The right-wing media machine is very efficient.
All spun up by the fucking government. Yeah, exactly. And special interests. To just like drown it out, like it makes me so fucking mad. I'm going to edit so much out of this episode.
That's why you got to do it again, but more violent.
Yeah. No, I think the next 4 years, there's going to be a lot more of us having to protest. Yeah. So exhausting, man. It's so exhausting.
I thought we were going to be funnier.
But you know what? Yeah, I know. You know what though? Like, justice doesn't sleep, man.
No. Like, our enemies may rest, but we must not.
Yeah. The moral arc of the universe bends towards justice, but like it takes a lot of fucking work.
It does.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
So what else happens in this movie, Will?
So we kind of glossed over, but V's last victim is the doctor who was doing the experiments. She didn't realize what she was doing.
No, she did, but she regretted it now.
Yeah, she regretted it.
She has come to regret it.
I think she thought that what she was doing was creating a cure for a disease and not necessarily realizing that the disease was going to be bioengineered.
No, I don't even think it's that. I think she knew what she was doing, and she even says in her notebook or memoirs that the detective is reading is like, she's like, you come to like hate these people.
Yeah.
because I think she knew what she was doing, but it was just like after V escaped and like blew it up, she was like, oh fuck, we were actually just torturing all these people. This was horrible. We shouldn't have done this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I think so. The reason why I say that is because he gives her the least violent death of all of the other people.
He takes he gives some sympathy to her.
Yeah.
And it's kind of touching in like a weird way.
Right.
And she's even like, is it painful? And he's like, no. And she's like, okay, you can do it. And he's like, I did it 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I killed you 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's nice, you know.
And she even says like, is it wrong of me to say like apologize? And he goes, it's never too late, you know.
Yeah, that's a nice line. Yeah.
But he leaves the journal for the detective, and that's where the detective is getting like all of the clues and finds specific like 3 guards, I guess, that 2 of them had died and 1 of them hadn't. And he goes and meets one of these guards at like the memorial for the St. Mary massacre, which was one of the places where the virus was released.
Yeah.
And it's V, obviously.
It's Hugo Weaving in Alan Moore drag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's actually very good.
Yeah.
And like he spins like he's not totally lying, but he is definitely like
he gives the detective the entire conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, here is everything that the government did and why. And like he lays it all out, and we get a nice montage wrapping up like all of the pieces that we've seen at this point.
But he does have add a twist on it, and that is to keep Mr. Creedy, who is like the soulless operator of the chancellor. He's the guy who does all the dirty business because he has no fucking soul.
He's the instrument of the state. Yeah,
right. And he V asks for him to be always under surveillance as a means to manipulate the cops, because doesn't he like go find Mr. McCready under surveillance and tells him, you know,
this is the guy that's kind of like in charge of the Secret Service, right?
Yes.
The big mean guy that he ends up
having a duel at the end.
But like he approaches him in like his garden shed
while he's under surveillance.
I couldn't remember that guy's name, but he's put him under surveillance, and it's to make that guy feel like the chancellor is scrutinizing him. And he does end up scrutinizing him even more anyway.
Yeah,
but it's to really tighten the screws on him so that he turns against the chancellor.
Mm-hmm. And he does, but he manipulates.
All this is even more convoluted in the comic from what I remember, because in the comic, V doesn't actually get to do all the killing. Of course, it's not that convenient.
Mm-hmm.
The political intrigue happens enough. I vaguely remember what happens, but like he gets them all to turn on each other eventually inside Parliament, and I think
it's a den of vipers.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's what happens in fascist. Yeah, exactly. Like I cannot wait until Elon blows up with Trump.
Oh,
that's going to be so messy.
That's going to be awesome, dude.
It's going to be so good.
We're going to be having great content for the next 4 years.
Any day now, this thing with this Pete Hedgeworth guy, the guy that like assaulted a bunch of women, and his mom even wrote him an email saying like, you're a horrible fucking person. You need help. So he's like a drunk. He's like an alcoholic.
Sure.
Like he has a real problem. Like, and like Trump does not fuck with that.
Yeah. I know
Trump is weirdly a sober guy.
Yeah.
And
well, his brother was an alcoholic.
Is that why he just never?
His brother died of alcoholism.
Period. Okay, yeah. He's like, he's weirdly like, obviously he probably does cocaine, but like he doesn't drink at all.
Yeah.
But and he eats McDonald's. What's the fuck? But anyway, so he's not a health guy.
The picture of him forcing RFK to eat McDonald's is one of the best things I've ever seen.
Like, I've sold my soul to this fucking
I love it. I bet you that brainworm ate so good that night.
I love McDonald's.
Leave that in. Anyways, but yeah, it's so I can see that.
Yeah. Anyway,
but anyways, we're
so he like starts pulling strings and getting things done.
Yeah,
he gets like the chancellor's secondhand man to like turn on him, and because he feels like the chancellor's going to get him killed.
Yeah.
So he says like, listen, I'll let you live if you bring me the chancellor one night. So like the night before Guy Fawkes Day, he shows up in like this very creepy, it's not an alleyway. It's like a,
before that
sewer. I'm skipping to the end.
Evie does show up, and they have like a little dance.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
Yeah. Is that when he shows her the subway?
Yes.
and is like, here's my plan to blow up Parliament that they didn't expect. I found
except for the
subway.
detective. The detective is the only one who called it.
He figures it out like right as it's happening.
No, he figures it out before. There's a
that's right. He pitches it.
Yeah, and the chancellor's like,
everyone
that's
tells him
fucking
he's stupid, and
Yeah.
they don't even look into it at all.
Yeah, fucking idiots. Once again, incompetency.
Yeah, exactly. They're so oversure.
Yeah, overconfident.
Yeah. But so he shows Evie, like, here's my plan. Like, I just have a subway full of dynamite. I'm just going to drive it into Parliament and
Blow that
blast
shit
it
up. Yep.
But then, he then goes, has this confrontation.
He's like, I gotta go do this thing real quick.
McCready and the Chancellor.
Yeah.
Kills executes the Chancellor in front of everybody.
Yeah, Creedy does it.
And that's right. He just like
shoots him in
gives
the fucking...
him a rose. V just gives him a rose.
Yeah.
And says, like, I told you this day was coming or some shit.
Yeah.
And then lets McCready do what.
Yeah, shoots him in the head.
But then, of course, McCready turns on V, and so V has to kill him and all the guys.
Well,
it's a great like action scene.
It's
a little sloppy.
But 16-year-old me thought it was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
No, hard same.
Yeah, it was cool as hell.
And the opening one too. Yeah, hard same. I'm like, you fucking give with the knife.
He's throwing the knives and shit. Oh my god.
Yeah. And then when he's bleeding, he like makes a V on the wall.
Yeah, he does. I was gonna point that out. But also, it's such a fun way of being like, we've got guns, you've got knives. Like, you're outmatching. It's like, no, what you have is bullets, Mr. Creedy.
And they hope that when your guns are empty, that I will be dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they all shoot him. I was like, I know how this ends, Creedy, with my hands around your neck. And the guy, like, I love it, the back and forth between them, because the guy like kind of cocks his eyebrow. I was like, oh, that's kind of hot. Creedy's a fucking freak. But anyways, and they shoot the fuck out of him, and he's not dead.
Yeah, and he reveals at the end he was wearing an iron breastplate, so that's how he was able to survive most of the gunshots.
Yeah, but not enough.
Yeah. Back up a little bit too. When we see, we kind of glossed over when we learn a lot about V's backstory. He was part of these experiments where they collected a bunch of like quote unquote undesirables.
Yeah.
Mostly like minorities and like, what have you, gays and lesbians too.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Political dissidents.
And political dissidents, all kinds of people that the government didn't want, and threw them in these essentially concentration camps and like were experimenting on them with this disease that they were trying to bioengineer. And that's how V is created. Like somehow he becomes like,
he was the only one who was resistant to the virus.
Right.
And so that's how they were able to make the antidote. And because of what it was doing to his body, it increased his kinesiology.
It makes him like super strong and fast.
And increases his reflexes.
And smart. But he also has amnesia now, so he's forgotten his entire past.
Mm-hmm.
So he's extra mysterious, of course.
Yes.
But he's like peak physical, like...
Yeah, he's fast as fuck, boy.
Being...
And he's got great...
He's at 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups.
Yeah. He can juggle knives.
So in that scene where he blows up the lab...
Yes.
And he's just standing there naked and like almost on fire.
Yeah.
The stunt double was Chad Stahelski, director of the John Wick movies.
Oh, no shit.
And it's stunt double for Keanu Reeves in the Matrix movies.
Okay.
Lots of
That's
Matrix
awesome.
crossover stuff here. And also like that scene was crazy hard to shoot because there is a lot of practical stuff in this movie. It was before they went full CGI for everything.
Right.
So that is a practical set. And Chad Stahelski had to wear this like flame retardant gel and would wear like a bio-free suit before filming so that his body temperature would be low, so that his skin
vaguely remember this.
You probably saw like a behind the scenes thing on it. This featurette. Yeah, it's fucking wild how much shit he went through to film this, because he's standing really not as close as the film wants you to think, but close enough that it was a danger.
Yeah.
And so they had to do so much stuff to protect him from it and to like make him like glisten up for the scene anyway.
I forgot about all this.
But just to protect him, so while he's standing in all this like burning rubble and shit, like it was crazy all the stuff he underwent. It's so cool. It like has an amazing effect. It's really powerful when it happens too. It's cool. But so V barely survives having killed everybody, but he's like obviously mortally wounded. So he like staggers back to the subway station where Evie is waiting, and collapses in her arms, and they embrace and kiss, which sucks.
She kisses the mask.
I don't. Does it happen
in the book?
No. Of all the deviances from the comic, that's the one I think is the most grievous too, because I don't want them to fall in love. It's weird,
right? Especially because like it is, I mean, obviously this is not the case, but it is like heavily implied that he's very much like her dad.
You mean because of what?
because of how
she says later.
Because of how they believe in, like when she's giving descriptions about her parents, and she talks about how like
because like there is a chance, maybe
there is a possibility because they did get there, but that clearly he's not.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is when she lists off all the traits of her father, he even says like a man after my own heart.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They're
I forgot
very
about that part.
ideologically aligned,
Right.
In a way. And like it seems that her dad is very much of the stand and fight kind of mentality.
So you're saying there could have been like an old boy style twist here.
There could have very well been, yeah, but obviously they weren't going to do that because the person behind the mask does not matter. It's the idea, yada yada yada. He could be any one person,
right? And that's why I like how in the comic there's almost no information given to his identity. In the movie, they do a little too much. I feel like it's mostly the same, but he's also more ambiguous in the comic.
Gotcha.
You don't even know if he's white in the comic.
Right?
But yeah, so he's dying and tells her like, Evie, you've got to make the decision to blow up Parliament. Like it's up to you. And so she like lays him very beautifully like in rest on the subway with like lots
all the
of
flowers,
his roses and stuff. And just she's about to pull the lever, the detective shows up and pulls a gun on her. And she's like, listen, you got to let me do this. Like the people need hope. And you see like hundreds of people like with Guy Fawkes masks and cloaks. Because I guess V had them shipped to everybody.
Yeah. He's very rich.
Yeah, I guess he was just paying to have these like shipped out to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like walking towards Parliament. And like there's like a bunch of soldiers and stuff stationed to
getting ready to shoot
in defense. And they're like, what do we do? Do we fire? And of course, like all the heads have just been killed by V and like that whole thing in the sewer.
So they're getting no orders.
But like they would have like colonels and stuff to give the order.
You'd think.
So it doesn't make any sense. Like in America, they wouldn't need orders from on high. They would just start shooting.
Yeah, they just start shooting.
Or there'd be like a I don't want to name drop the guy. It starts with a K and he's a piece of shit.
No.
But there would just be like
vigilante dickheads.
Vigilantes just being like, oh, I'll do what the cops can't. Mowing down.
Fuck them. What are they going to do? This is legal kill.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. And then become like a conservative hero.
Yeah.
Fuck that piece of shit. Anyway. But yeah, I was like, this is so unrealistic. Like this would never happen. Maybe in Britain because like, I don't know. But then again, maybe not. I don't know.
Who knows?
And I say that we're recording this the day South Korea
did martial law.
Holy shit. Yeah. Like almost had a coup happen.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I think it's wrapping up because the parliament managed to get together and overrode the martial law. So I think as long as the military doesn't decide to turn on the civilians, it should be okay. I need to check back in with that because I haven't looked into it since I started making dinner. But holy shit!
The one of the days where I just decide not to pay attention to what the fuck's going on in the world.
It's wild. Yeah, the prime minister is of South Korea is basically looking at like being completely overthrown because the government is like just a few seats away from like flipping from one government to the next.
Yeah,
and so like as a last resort, filed for martial law so that they are granted like all immediate powers.
Right.
It's crazy. I know somebody that lives in South Korea, and I told my wife to check in with them.
Yeah,
and she was like, "Yeah, they're looking at moving back to Florida."
Not Florida.
Well, no, like this, like shit is way crazier out there than it is here. Yeah. Like, granted, we could be there in like a couple of years,
right?
But we'll see.
Yeah,
yeah.
But anyways, Parliament blows up.
Yeah, and then Evie pulls the lever, sends off the subway, blows up Parliament. Everybody has a big party. All the people watching the fireworks like start taking off the Guy Fawkes mask, and it's a bunch of people that died during the movie.
Yeah,
because they're symbolic of all the people. Oh, and then the detective asks Evie like, "Who was V? Who was he?" And she goes, "He was my father. He was my brother. He was my mother." It just starts. He was all of us. Kind of.
Right.
Symbolism.
Symbology. I'll hit you with the wrong term.
No, you're good. I when I'm doing it, I'm doing the Boondock Saints.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, man. That was V for Vendetta.
That's that movie, dude.
A couple of things that I realized while I was watching it was when Evie was talking about her parents and stuff, and she was like, my mom wanted to leave. My dad said we can't because or else they'll win, like it's some sort of game and shit. And I was like, damn, this movie called me the fuck out. Good lord, because that's always been like my mentality for quite some time now. But even now, I'm starting to buckle into the fucking strain and want to not live in Florida.
I mean, moving out of the country is one thing because we can still vote on a national level.
Word.
Depending on what state you live in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is a good point because it's like, but if they had moved, he would have saved his family, kind of thing, you know? Like, yeah,
right. But it's once again, it's the self-preservation versus the idea, like the individual versus the collective, sort of thing. Like giving up if enough people gave caution to the wind and rallied around a singular just cause, we could change so much. But there's all the creature comforts and the little treats that we get, you know, that keep us all compliant. Not compliant, but like
what surprises me about that though is like moving countries, I guess in the EU is different. Like it's, you can just pick up and change nationalities probably, but whereas like here it is egregiously expensive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and lots of legal processes have to happen on top of spending thousands and thousands of dollars. Yeah. But I know, you know, and granted, maybe the EU isn't a thing in the world of V for Vendetta where you can just like, you have a passport. Okay. Welcome to Germany now, you know, welcome to whatever.
Right.
But I know in Europe, like it's much easier to just pick up and go to another country.
Sure. Yeah.
But here you got like two choices and you can't just become a citizen of any of them just by going there. You know what I mean? Right. Because like, do I think I'd fit in Canada better? Like, yeah, 100%. But like, it doesn't just happen overnight. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that, it's a process and it's probably more expensive than I could afford is the other thing too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's fucking, it's not a option for me. Right. That's like what rich people do.
I guess what I meant was like leaving Florida.
Yeah. Well, and that's
the States, you know.
And that's a geographically specific thing for us,
right?
You know, where you can pick up and change states. Yeah. Whereas in Britain, that's not a thing, really.
Sure. Yeah. So there was
but
that.
You're still under Trump.
Look, man.
Yeah, I know.
Lesser poisons. Trying to think of like other different things in the film that, you know, was like stated that I really enjoyed, like stuff that really spoke to me. I remember when I was 16 and I watched this film, a lot of the, you know, fascist stuff like went right over my fucking head. I was like, oh yeah, every movie needs a bad guy, like bad government, who cares, and shit. And like you're supposed to cheer at the end when he's slicing up a bunch of Secret Service dudes, like, and that was me. I was like, I lived for that stuff. I thought it was the coolest fucking thing. So coming back and watching the film 20 years later once again, and like really seeing just like the textbook, I say like
the demonstration of the party being totalitarian,
the checkpoints of what a totalitarian government looks like, and how many of those you can just cross off.
And now, like we kind of like we had like the preschool version with Bush, but like now we've lived it, and we're about to live it even more. Yeah, and so now it's not cute anymore.
No, it's no fun. I don't like it anymore.
I don't even. Yeah, it's like, would I be excited if like another movie like this came out? You know what I mean? Like not in the same way. No. It'd be depressing kind of thing. You know? Yeah.
It's so weird. This movie just feels so over the top in some instances. Yeah. Like as you said, you know, there's like tonal whiplash. You've got bits and pieces where they're like making fun of, you know, propagandists or having a fucking lecherous priest or, you know, things of that nature. And then you get the memoir of the jail lady, the actress. Yeah. It's like that stuff right there. If the whole movie was like that, this would be like a completely different film. Yeah. I think it'd be more true to the graphic novel.
That's the thing. As an adaptation, like it doesn't have time to sit in a lot of the stuff it wants to talk about.
It's still 2 hours long.
It is. It's a very long movie, but it still feels like they are moving so fast. Yeah, like especially the last 40 minutes of the movie. I remember pausing it and being like, how in the fuck is there 40 minutes left? And then those 40 minutes it almost is an entire montage of like this, just them just wrapping shit up.
The same thing happened. So I put my son down for a nap. Like I watched the first 30 minutes because he was in his room playing Star Wars, whatever. Yeah. And then I was like, hey buddy, you got to go to sleep because you're going to be belligerent, you know, soon. And so I finally got him down, came back, watched the majority of the film. He wakes up, comes out, lays on top of me, goes back to sleep, and that was the last 40 minutes. I was like, damn dude, I don't even know if he's gonna wake up before this movie ends. I don't need to see him have him watch this dude stab a bunch of guys, you know. And sure shit, as the credits start rolling, he wakes up. I was like, oh, I could have planned this any better.
Yeah, nice.
Funny thing too, he saw the picture of V, you know, before I like rented the movie and stuff, and he goes, oh dad, you watching Face Guy? Face Guy movie? That's his name for him, Face Guy, because he has a face and he's a guy. And
I mean, he's half right. Yeah,
he's not wrong.
Yeah.
You know, there's a thing about ideas. You can't kill them with a gun. But yeah, he kept like even as he like walked off to go play Star Wars, he come back and be like, "Daddy, you watching Face Guy?" I'm like, "Yes, please go away. I cannot. This is way too violent."
Face Guy, very violent. Please go.
Please go. I love it when he does get into the whatever it is I'm watching, because like what you call Porco Rosso, I'd be like, "Hey, what the pig doing?
What pig doing?" I love that.
It's so good.
All right, I got some shit I'll roll through.
Yes, please. You don't have to move fast either. Just I want to hear like your thoughts, because this isn't a movie that I grew up with necessarily. Like I remember when it came out and I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
And then when I found out my wife, who was then we weren't dating, and I was trying to.
You were in the courting.
I was trying to figure out what she was interested in.
Yeah,
just like V for Vendetta and Silent Hill, like are movies that I've watched recently that I really liked, and I knew that she loved the Silent Hill video game, so I was like, guess who's renting both of those?
Yeah,
and I watched V for Vendetta with my little brother, and I was like, oh, this is awesome! Like this is the coolest thing I've ever seen, and not really thinking anything of it.
This is what she's into. I love this chick.
I gotta wipe her up.
Yeah. And listener, he did.
Sure did. But watching it, I thought it was an action movie, and like that's not that. I mean, that's
it
what
wants to be.
It wants to be.
The people making this movie want it to be that.
You're absolutely right, and that's why like, when you were like, "Oh, the Wachowskis had a hand in this," it's like, "Oh, this makes more sense."
Yep.
I understand that, but
and it's
also,
flashy and feels Matrixy a little bit,
right?
Yeah.
But it also has this like behind. It's I mean, it's there. It's in your face. The what the main character is dealing with, but it didn't feel like it was a major part of the movie. In a way, like it feels like the action is the sauce. As
him being a super suave, cool action hero is at odds with him also being a terrorist kind of thing,
right?
A revolutionary, if you will. And the movie is trying to make it one cohesive thing, but it's really not gelling quite right.
That is correct.
It feels weird. And I think that is why, like that one reviewer said, like this is a very adolescent movie, because like there's like plot holes and like some of the stuff is like tonally. I want to whipping back and forth.
I want to see the other version of this. I want to see the non-action movie version of this. I want to see the Den of Vipers version of this. I really want to see him using political intrigue in order to have the creature eat itself from the inside.
Yeah.
And now knowing that that's more of what it's like in the graphic novel, I feel I'm not soured on this film. Like I'll watch it again eventually, but the version that could have been is way more interesting to me now, I guess. Yeah. So anyways, you do your thing. You've got some stuff on your phone. Let's hear it.
So I learned what Guy Fawkes was because of this movie.
Same.
And like, I just know it's like a big deal in like Britain, and like, there's like a whole holiday, and like, that's what this mask was always representative of.
Yeah.
And like, that's what the comic was doing, was like, hey, what if we took this thing that everybody knows in Britain and like made like a superhero where he like, well, not in the guise of a superhero, like adopted it as his like,
made an idea of a person,
but like as his persona kind of thing, or his look, his costume.
Sure.
But yeah, he was made famous. The real Guy Fawkes was involved in the gunpowder plot of 1605, and they reference this in the beginning of the movie, but they dramatize it a lot.
Yeah.
But he was in charge of executing this plot because he had military explosives experience. The plot was masterminded by a guy named Robert Catesby, but it was a failed attempt by a group of provincial English Roman Catholic conspirators to kill King James I of England, the Sixth of Scotland, his entire family, and most of the Protestant aristocracy in one fell swoop by blowing up the House of Parliament during its state opening. So they were trying to kill a whole swath of politically important monarchs, essentially, which is crazy. But
then institute Catholicism as the...
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. He was not a good person. He wasn't doing it for like altruistic means.
Yeah,
he was trying to institute a Catholic or Catholic. Yeah.
Yeah. It was years later when somebody explained to me in idiot terms that I could understand that what Guy Fawkes was actually doing is like, no, this guy wasn't like a great revolutionary.
He was going to kill some bad people, but it was for a bad reason kind of thing. Yeah.
There's actually, I don't remember which streaming network, but there is a show called either Treason or Gunpowder Plot or something like that, and it's about Guy Fawkes.
Right.
And it's got
it is a fascinating thing, because he came so close to executing it.
Yeah,
he wasn't in the movie. It shows him like getting caught in the act of setting up the explosives and like having like a long drawn out sword fight. In real life, he actually set up everything and lit the fuse. And as he was walking out, they arrested him and then went and stopped the fuse. Because it was like one of those slow, powder fuses, you know?
You had to really understand like how long it's going to take to burn so you can get away so you don't
Exactly, yeah. And they just went and I'm assuming like kicked it, away to turn it off, But yeah, he was arrested walking out of it.
That's
after setting it
crazy,
off.
dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, the main person for Treason, the person who plays Guy Fawkes, is Kit Harington.
Oh, from Game of Thrones, right? I know that. He's Jon Snow in that.
He's Jon Snow.
Yeah,
that was his next
one
big thing
person I can
afterwards.
tell you from that whole show. Okay, so the scrambler device that the detectives use.
Oh yeah.
So that they can't be overheard on surveillance.
Yes.
It is just a common pocket light for when you're reading. And I had one, and I remember recognizing it and thinking, what the fuck? They just put a little red light bulb in it instead of a white light bulb.
Right.
Because I had the exact same thing. I think my mom bought it at Barnes and Noble.
Did you really?
Yeah, and it just you just push a button and it springs open like that. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's fantastic.
So V was not always played by Hugo Weaving. I had to think about his name for a second. Jeez, I almost said Hugh Laurie.
Yeah, he wasn't always on the set, if I'm not right?
Yeah, so they started filming with another actor who was originally cast, James Purefoy.
Who the fuck is that?
He's in some random stuff, but I know him as Bancroft from Altered Carbon.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, I like that character a lot. Yeah. But he was originally cast as V, but then left abruptly several weeks into filming for citing creative differences with the filmmakers. I don't know what happened. But Hugo Weaving replaced him, and obviously he has a Wachowskis connection.
Yeah.
To me, Hugo Weaving was the bad guy in the Matrix film, so I didn't think anything of him. But as I got older, I'm like, Hugo Weaving's fucking amazing.
He's a fantastic
He's
actor.
So good.
Yeah. I like his daughter too, Samara.
Oh, that's right. What would I know her from, though?
She's in Ready or Not.
I never saw that one, but I heard it's good. Well, yeah, and I love Hugo Weaving. I think this is one of his best performances because he's doing so much and you never see his face.
100%.
It's insane.
That's the good thing about actors playing characters where you can't see their face. They have to do a lot of inflection with their voice.
Yes,
that's why I really enjoyed
and subtle movements.
Exactly.
Even.
So
Tom Hardy is the king of this now.
Tom Hardy. Pedro Pascal for The Mandalorian as Din Djarin.
Andy Serkis also great at this. Yeah. So actor Stephen Rea, who plays Inspector Finch, the lead detective that's hunting V.
Yeah.
He was married for 20 years to Dolores Price. Dolores spent 7 years in prison for her role in bombing the Old Bailey in 1973 when she was part of the IRA.
I don't want to blow out. I don't want to blow out the mic, but I'm about to fucking screech. Are you fucking kidding
Isn't
me?
That cool?
That's
as
so
fuck.
cool! Holy shit!
I know.
I need you to superimpose the IRA rally chant over us talking right now.
This is the pro IRA.
No, yeah, absolutely, dude. If this was the 70s and I lived over in Ireland, you best fucking believe
We're doing the troubles again, baby.
Exactly, dude.
That is the crazy thing that Britain does have way more experience.
Getting terrorized.
Modern experience.
Yeah.
With terror. Because we have 9/11 and that's it. And it changed everything, and it's why we think of so much in a certain light.
When you were telling me about Children of Men, where the fucking cafe, the same street, got blown up what?
Because Al-Qaeda did a bunch of random shit like that there. It wasn't just 9/11, yeah. Okay, so I was leading up to I have Alan Moore's critiques in quotes here. So Alan Moore, the writer of the original graphic novel V for Vendetta, greatly disliked the movie, and he criticized the script for, quote, having plot holes you wouldn't have gotten away with Whizzer and the Chips in the 1960s. I'm assuming that was an old British TV show.
Okay.
But he ended cooperation with his publisher, DC Comics, after its corporate parent, Warner Brothers, failed to retract statements about Moore's supposed endorsement of the movie. Producer Joel Silver, who was famously a piece of shit, but has produced a lot of good movies, allegedly a piece of shit, I should say, just in case, said at a press conference that screenwriter Lana Wachowski had talked with Moore and that Moore was very excited about what Lana had to say. Moore disputed this, reporting that he told Wachowski, I didn't want anything to do with the films. I wasn't interested in Hollywood. I demanded that DC Comics force Warner Brothers to issue a public retraction and apology for Silver's blatant lies. Although Silver called Moore directly to apologize, no public retraction appeared. Moore was quoted as saying that the comic book had been, quote, specifically about things like fascism and anarchy, and the words fascism and anarchy occur nowhere in the film. It's been turned into a Bush-era parable by people too timid to set a political satire in their own country.
God damn, he fucking nailed it.
He hit the nail on the fucking head.
Holy shit. This guy is crazy, man. This guy is so
He's
good.
crazy, but
in a good way.
but he's really fucking smart too.
Yeah.
But he worships the snake god, but he's really fucking smart.
Worships the snake
He
god?
worships a snake god.
Yggdrasil of the tree?
I don't know if that's the one,
Huh.
but I remember looking up what his religion is, and he's like a magician. And yeah.
Oh no! I need all this. I'm an atheist, but this sounds right up my
Debaser
alley.
deep dive on Alan Moore, the
dude.
mind, the myth, the legend. He is a dude.
Yeah,
you know?
he's definitely a dude.
Oh my god, he is wild. Have you seen all the rings he wears too?
Yeah, and
he looks like a fucking wizard. He looks like
yeah,
Gandalf.
He's got the long beard.
Like was at like a BDSM store. You know,
he looks like I could smell him 20 feet away.
Oh, 1000%. Yeah. Apparently, he
like
really
him.
likes South Park too.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I read an interview with him where he was like, "I really enjoy South Park."
Yeah, okay, man.
All right. Well, as we're winding down here,
Yes.
I have a call to action. Please tell a friend about this show.
Okay.
We don't do advertising.
Yes, it's true.
We don't pay to get the show out there. The most I've done is get some stickers printed.
But they're great.
And they're really cool stickers. Everyone I've showed them to is like, whoa, can I get some of those? But yeah, just tell somebody about the show. It helps immensely. Just you tell a friend, you tell two friends, and then they tell two friends, and then they tell two friends. And then before you know it, we can at least break even.
I want you to tell your cop friends about the show specifically.
Tell your parents, tell your teachers, tell your the people that institutionalized you. You know, tell your ISS teacher, tell your parole officer.
This is not a bit though. Please
tell your wife's boyfriend.
Shut up, Jared.
But seriously, Will and I were at a Friendsgiving the other day. I noticed you across the room talking movies with a guy. I shouted at you, Will, tell him about the podcast.
Yeah, you did do that. Well, hold on. Now, I will say this in my defense. Whenever you're not around, I absolutely show a podcast.
I know.
But
I wasn't trying to police you. I was trying to like tease you.
But I do it in the best way possible because anytime movies come up, I go, oh well, you know, I'm much like every white man on planet Earth does have a podcast. It's about movies. It's called Debaser. Please listen.
I know. I think the only thing that's not stereotypical about us is we don't live in Brooklyn. You know, we're in the middle of Florida, so like
the middle.
That's what's unique about us. Yeah. I will say that guy though caught up with me a little later and was asking me about movies. He's like, "Did you like Arrival?" And I was like, "I love Arrival."
Yeah. You know what's funny? Completely unrelated. The guy that I was telling you about, the centrist. That I met. I did tell him, you know, obviously a podcast. He's like, "Hey, man, if you ever want me on," and I was like, "Gavin, don't fucking tempt me, dude, because you actually have reach."
Yeah.
So
we got that media elite on here.
Exactly, dude.
Yeah.
We should do King of Monsters though, because
that's right.
He
He's
loves
like a
King of
stand
Monsters.
for that?
He's a huge stand for King of Monsters. His favorite creature is Mothra.
We need someone to defend that movie because if I have somebody on that hates it, I'm not going to have a good time.
No, he's the guy. Like he's the guy. He's the dude. Like if we ever come around and be like, okay, we do need to finally actually like talk about King of Monsters, I will fucking hit him up so fast.
Second call of action.
Yes. Okay.
Call to action rather. We mentioned this in the Chonamen episode, but I want to make this a recurring thing. Get involved locally, folks.
That's right.
Get involved in something. You'd be shocked at how little effort it will take and how much difference you can make, you know, because we've talked about the times are going to get a little tough here. You know what I mean? Like shit's going bad. Mm-hmm. Things aren't going our way. But
you feel like you've got the
moral, work starts at home.
Yeah. Say if you feel like you've got the moral fiber to stand up for what you believe in and make a difference and be like a voice of reason in the sea of chaos.
Yeah. And this isn't even something that like, I'm not saying throw money at a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is just you showing up to something and do it locally because it's going to have a bigger impact and it's going to be easier and more convenient for you. And I'm talking like PTA, HOA, city council, a library, city committees. You have no idea how many committees your city has. Go on your city website and look at their committees. I promise you there's a list of like at least a dozen to 24 committees about so much shit you never knew existed. And it's boards that are like in charge of like parks, people are in charge of housing, in charge of the, you know, police conduct, wild shit that you can volunteer to be on. And you will be shocked at how much say you have over stuff. Like, and these things, they need members, number one. They need volunteers to show up. And the people that are volunteering to show up to these things are maybe not people you want to be there. So you need to be the voice of reason in the room, number
a lot
one.
of people that have a lot of free fucking time on their
Exactly. It's like a lot of busybodies and retirees, you know what I mean? But like we have to, A, be the change we want to see in the world, and B, like we have to get active in the community. You know what I mean? Like we can't just sit down and let the weirdos take over kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like don't take it laying down. Don't let people loot and pillage this country. You know, we need to make justice right in the world. But you have no idea like how thin the margins are on these decisions that get made that you read about in the news and you're like, what the who decided this shit? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We were just discussing how the city that you live in, unfortunately, Will, decided to take fluoride out of the water and cited RFK Jr., who is not even in charge, like hasn't been appointed yet. It's been announced that he will be. And the person that said this isn't even in office yet. And they cited him to take fluoride out of the water. And you could tell all of the people that made this decision don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Right.
Even one of the people I noticed in the article said that, like, we don't know enough about this. I hate that we have to make this decision. And it's like, don't fucking make it. Ask an expert, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. Show up, man.
Right.
There could have been somebody in that room to say, hey, I think we should table this until we talk to some experts.
Maybe don't listen to the guy who had a worm in his brain.
Yeah, like a literal guy with a worm in his brain who admitted to like some crazy shit in the last 6 months even.
Yeah.
Who is like a steroided grandpa. Like
sexting a reporter while married.
Who is a quarter of his age or something crazy?
Yeah, she's like 30. She's like 27.
And he's 70 something, right?
Yeah, he's 30 years. He's whatever she is. He's like 30 or 40 years older than me. Yeah.
Anyway, just get out there, man. And like, you don't have to go far. It's very local, man.
Yeah.
Like there's so much stuff that you don't know about that you can just show up and like do something. You know what I mean? Maybe like you're picking up your kid from school and like the teacher's like, hey, please, like we have a PTA meeting, and instead of blowing them off, like just go. Like you'd be shocked. You could stop like a crazy person from like trying to close your school library or some shit. You know what I mean?
Or putting the 10 Commandments in your fucking classroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Not necessary.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it.
We love you. Me specifically. Even though I may not be able to hold you, look at your face, or kiss you, I love you.
I just got what you were doing. Well, folks, that's been our show. Thank you for listening to Debaser. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to us on your podcast app and follow us on social media by searching for @DebaserPod. My wonderful co-host is Will. Will, do you have anywhere where people can find you? Are you on Blue Sky yet?
So I never did Twitter, so I'm probably never going to do Blue Sky.
Hey, it's a good time to check it out, though.
Yeah, I've been interested. A lot of the people that I enjoy listening to are already on there. I mean, obviously, I enjoy listening to you. Otherwise, I would not come over here every week to talk to you. So maybe, hey, who knows? Maybe I'll do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I will like to plug one thing, although they don't need it, but I'm very excited. There is going to be a new show on Amazon. Not that I
Prime Video.
Yeah. Not that I want you to give them money.
But you probably already have it, honestly. Like everybody I know has Prime Video, man.
It's called Secret Level. It is it's an anthology series based on different like video game properties and whatnot.
That's out like when this is out. Shit.
That'll be out the day before on the 10th.
Fucking A.
Exactly. And there's a lot of things on there that they're going to be covering. It's going to be the first like couple of episodes. And
there's a video game you can't even play anymore that's getting an episode.
Exactly. But so they're covering things like Armored Core, Mega Man, Pac-Man, Spelunky, which I'm seeing there's a little Spelunky thing in your room right here.
I'm a huge Spelunky fan. Yeah. I'm so excited for that. Also, Keanu Reeves is in the Armored Core one.
He is the Armored Core pilot. He's the Raven, but specifically, as you know, I love Warhammer. That's like my whole life. There's a Warhammer episode that is a continuation of Space Marine 2, so if you have not beaten Space Marine 2, hey, now's a really good time to do that. If you haven't picked up Space Marine 2, what the fuck are you doing? Pick it up. Add me. I'll do operations with you. Anyways, I got to have a chance to see like the first 3 minutes of that Space Marine episode at New York City Comic Con.
Nice.
It is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Super hype. And if you have ever had any kind of interest in that world based on the stupid shit that I say, you're going to love it. and then you're going to email us at
debaserpod@gmail.com.
Thank
you. One more time for clean.
Debaserpod@gmail.com.
Thank you so much.
Email us there and tell Jared, hey, Jared, this isn't for you. This is actually for Will. I love Warhammer now. How do I get started? And then I'll tell you.
I'll forward the email to you.
There we go. But yeah, that's what I want to plug, even though they clearly don't need the help.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be all over the internet. Yeah. No, I'm excited for that. It's going to be really sweet.
It's going to fucking rule. I'm so excited.
Well, thanks for listening to our gaming corner.
Yeah.
Well, for the Debaser podcast, I'm Jared. Goodbye, everybody. Debaser is hosted and produced by Will Taylor and Jared Rusk. Want to email the show? Send it to debaserpod@gmail.com. Want to help us out? Please leave us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice, especially Apple Podcasts. Thank you for listening, and take care out there.